Mike Lesser with Farm Equipment Magazine, here today with the Burengas from Worksaver, two guys I met, I think, at the very first farm equipment manufacturers meeting right after we bought farm equipment in 2004.
Tom Burenga from Worksaver, Litchfield, Illinois, and been there since 1980.
I'm Tim Burenga with Worksaver and currently our Vice President.
Briefly, tell us the Cliff Notes version of the history of Worksaver and how it came to be today.
Well, there was three gentlemen in Litchfield, Illinois that formed the old Wycomi company, Wikomi. And one of those gentlemen was J.O. Hinken, and he ended up with that company after a year. And he ran it up until 1974, the end of 1974, and then he sold that company to Phil Sams. Phil Sams operated the company. He had a manager there that ran it, and then Phil. I met Phil in 1978, and in the end of '79, he asked me to come down and try and operate the company and help him straighten it out. I had previously been with Tractor Supply Company. I had run the manufacturing operations of Tractor Supply prior to that. And so anyway, I came down and started in December of '79. We had some very tough times. The ag economy was down considerably, and it stayed down through the early '80s. We had a lot of rebuilding to do. The old Wycomi company, of course, was in very bad shape, and the widow of Mr. Hinken had foreclosed on us on Wycomi, and so we formed a new company called Worksaver Incorporated, and that officially came about in April of 1980. Had a lot of challenging times. We had many things that were wrong, and the worst of it was the ag economy. And I had, by spending 10 years with Tractor Supply, I had met a lot of people, and a lot of them had left Tractor Supply and gone into the farm store business. And so that was the one market opportunity that I saw. And so we developed a lot of our new equipment, and some of the old, we adapted it to the farm store market. And that's what helped us stay alive. Mm-hmm. So that's how we at least got it to a break-even point anyway.
Describe the type of machines, the type of manufacturing that you do down there in Litchfield.
Well, years ago, we were building mainly product line for the farm stores, and the competition we had was down south, and they paid a lower wage, and so they could produce their equipment more economically or for less cost than ours. And I knew at that time we had to do something to change it. So we started back in, say, 1990 to try and modernize and add computer-operated equipment and become more productive. And I've told the men that work for us, we didn't necessarily need to work harder, we had to work smarter. We had to produce more product per hour per day to compete against the southern competition that we had at that time. And that we have kept that philosophy, and so now today we have 5 welding robots. We have a laser operated cutting machine. We have plasma cutting machines, CNC operated lathes and machining centers. We have a CNC operated press brake. We still have some of the old equipment, the big old presses and stuff like that, but we definitely tried to modernize and also become more sophisticated in our manufacturing with our fixturing and tooling and stuff.
You had a project here in the last year or so that you were pretty proud of.
The opportunity came around for us to install a solar field to help provide some of our energy requirements. And long story short, when we were all done, we got 340 kilowatt solar field, and that provides about 45% of our power. And with the programs that are out there today, it made sense for us to do the project. And probably the biggest benefit that we've received from it is we're not in an industrial area, so we suffered a lot on low voltage and brownouts, which would fry motors and computer boards and things of that nature. By having the solar field there, it's acted as a capacitor, and we're not seeing those low voltages anymore. We're still susceptible to spikes, but the brownouts we don't see anymore. So it's been a good project.
So tell me about the job that you were hired to do down there at what eventually became Worksaver. What that climate was like and what you were tasked with.
The company had been sadly mismanaged. The people that Phil Sams had thought could manage it were not doing a good job. And when I walked in the door, we had machinery that was bad. The buildings were bad. They leaked like a sieve. Sadly, we had quite a few employees that were not good. And obviously the quality of the equipment had gone down. So one of the immediate challenges was to straighten all that out. There was no safety rules and no work rules. The accident rate was so bad, the only insurance that they could buy was through the state of Illinois, which was very, very expensive. So didn't do anything fancy, just put in common sense work rules and safety rules, and called a meeting and told everybody, okay, everybody's got a clean slate, but from now on, here's what we go by. Interestingly, we lowered the accident rate 96% that first year, just common sense stuff, and that helped a lot. Then had to get rid of some of the bad employees, and that was a tough job, but it had to be done. Then we also worked on redesign of some of the equipment. One of the deal, there was basically no drawings at that time. They made sample parts and hung them on a nail in the factory. And sometimes there would be slight differences between the parts. So some of the nails had 4 to 5 parts, all the same part, but with slight differences. And there was a very fine gentleman that ran the metal fabrication department, and he knew which one of those was the master. Well, I was there 3 months, and the poor guy got sick and died. And I had an immediate challenge of going through all those parts and then making drawings and finding out which one was the right one.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you there before things took another turn and you ended up acquiring the company?
Obviously, immediately I was optimistic that I could turn it around in a year or two. And with the farm economy being down and all the other unknown problems there that I ran into, it took over 4 or 5 years before we got into a break-even point. That was a very tough period. But then we started doing other things, and we started being able to buy used equipment that was in better shape than what we had, and become a little bit more productive. And we built the farm store business up to, it was over 50% of our business for quite some time. We stayed on that course and did modernize and become better at it. But then in the early 2000s, about 2008, 9, we saw that the farm store industry was not an industry we wanted to remain in. Other people had gotten into it, and the profit margins had always been slim. They became even less so, and sometimes non-existent. So we knew Mike Gloucester had joined me at that time as a sales manager, and we worked our way out of the farm store business and started doing more contract work and concentrating more on products that our distributors could sell. And that took several years to do, but it was like walking away. When you walk away from over 50% of your business, Today it's about 5%. We still do a little bit.
Takes some courage to do that. doesn't it?
Well, it was challenging.
Yeah.
But and then Mike has always been very good in sales and marketing.
A lot of our customer base tends to be what people might call the rural lifestyle person. So somebody who is living on an acreage, they probably are employed in town doing something, a lot of times on a professional basis, or a contractor would fit that. Also the small farmer, somebody who we fit really well into the small cattle market because of the attachments that we make to allow them to feed their cattle. And then on the other side, if it's somebody who is doing development work, small developers, small contractors, small landscapers, things of that nature, we have a variety of attachments that fit what they want to do at a great price point and offers the same features that they're going to get in something that's maybe from a much larger competitor, that they might have a tough time making relationships with those dealers or those individuals. They can rely on the people that we sell to provide them with those products.
We started doing more contract work. I mentioned that John Deere, we started building product for them in 2004. That was good too because they're demanding, and we had to change a few of our processes, especially our painting and quality control, and to meet their standards and so on. And then we use those same things through our other products, and we improve those also. As we improved, we were also looking for other contract work, which I mentioned earlier. We've done some of that, and so we finally have expanded and also kept on the modernization. And this is where we got to with the other CNC equipment. We've added onto the buildings, tried to make improvements in all around, and I think that's what's helped us out the most. We've got some good people now. Mike Kloster is now our president, and then Tim joined us. And Tim, when Tim got out of college, he took over the shipping department and was able to make a big contribution there. And then the plant manager I had at that time told me he was going to retire. So we had Tim work with him and take over the plant manager job. And Tim did a good job there, and also was able to make improvements and help us out considerably from that standpoint. And then as we moved on, I knew that Tim, eventually would like to take over the company, but Mike and Tim and I bought the company from Phil Sams in basically January of 2016.
Mm-hmm. So today the company is owned by the three of you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Did you have ownership starting in the 1980s, or
the arrangement I had with Phil Sams? Part of the reward for saving the company and turning it around was I got 25% of the company. Okay. And that took some time. Of course, in the beginning years, it was 25% of a negative net worth. Yeah. Other than it did eventually work out.